Oh, but it looks like you're muted, Jennifer. I don't know if you want me to.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
We've been having internet issues from this morning, so if I cut out, Amy, I'll count on you to. Again, it's just been real. Abby told me to go home, so I'm gonna kick it right off. So Jeffrey, how are you, sir? Welcome.
I am well, thank you.
Good to see you. Erica, good to see you.
Oh, glad to be here.
Good. We sure appreciate the both of you and the level of interest and preparation. We know from all of our department heads for our public facing departments, this is a grueling process. We try to be as mindful as possible as we're going through this, that as many Broomfield employees and our community members have an opportunity to really get their arms around our candidates, because it is our employees that set the stage for a sustainable Broomfield. So being in alignment with mission, vision, values is critical. From a technical nature, that of course is important. Experience is important, but nothing substitutes work ethic, principle, and habits, right? So again, that's what makes for a fit. So again, I truly appreciate both of you. This is a key position for us. There are being a city and county, it adds a different layer of responsibility that from the city portion to the county portion to DMV and the elections, which we know fundamentally it's always been critical. But as we move forward, it will continue to be something that continues to set Broomfield apart. Our community is highly activated, extremely engaged, and their level of contribution for any community is second to none. So this is one of the positions. So council hires and can terminate the city manager, the city county attorney, and the municipal judge. This is a unique position in that the council has to approve my hiring recommendation. So again, it adds a very different level of ensuring we have the right person in the right position for the right time. So with that, I'm going to kick it back over to our Deputy Director of HR, Amy Collins, to walk us through the next hour. And again, I wish you both the very best of luck. These processes really do show. It leaves very little to the imagination after you jump through the series of 5 hoops by the time you get to this process. So congratulations for making it to this stage. As I turn it to Amy and she does the introduction, take a deep breath and be yourself. And thanks very much. We sure appreciate your time and your effort. Amy.
Thank you, Jennifer. Greatly appreciate it. I'd also like to welcome you this evening. I'm Amy Collins, the Deputy Director of Human Resources. And so just briefly about the process, we received 63 applications for this position, and out of 63, we were down to the top 2. And so that's Erica Delaney-Liu and Jeffrey Berry. So thank you so much for being here this evening. We greatly appreciate it. Just a little bit about the process before we get started. I know we only have an hour and want to cover as many questions as we can. But what we'll do is we have a number of questions that have been selected randomly, and they will be asked of both candidates. So what we'll do is have each candidate answer each question in different order as we go through the process. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer the questions. And again, we'll get through as many questions as we can throughout this hour. And before we get started, Amy Wells will be our timekeeper. So we will be holding to a strict time, and she's great about holding up the cards when you are running out of time. It might be 1 minute, 30 seconds to 15 seconds. And once she's done, we do ask that you stop so we can move on to the next question. The second piece is we have feedback forms. So we would greatly appreciate your feedback. Jennifer Hoffman has a difficult decision to make. And so your feedback is critical to the process. We have the forms out on the Broomfield Voice, and do ask for your feedback fairly quickly by tomorrow at 5 p.m. if possible. And so our candidates for tonight have been assigned a number, and this was a random number. So Erica Delaney Liu will be number 1 for the process tonight. And then candidate 2 will be Jeffrey Berry for tonight's process. What we'll do first is allow each candidate to provide a self-introduction. And so we're going to allow 5 minutes per candidate. And again, we will have Erica Delaney Liu go first, followed by Jeffrey Berry, and then we'll kick it off to the questions. So if we are ready, Erica, you are up to provide a 5-minute introduction on why you for the city and county clerk position.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I want to say good evening to members of council who are on the call and the citizens and voters who are taking time from their evening to listen in. So a little bit of history about me. Again, my name's Erica Delaney Liu, obviously. I am a 20+ year resident of Colorado. We originally moved here from Wyoming when my husband became a teacher in the Boulder Valley School District, and he's been doing that for, I think, 23 or 24 years now. And so I went to law school at the University of Denver, and I also got a master's degree, a public policy master's degree, also from the University of Denver. I knew I would be in local government from the time I was in law school, and I started clerking at the Colorado Municipal League. In that role as law clerk, I worked with a lot of smaller communities around the city or around the state of Colorado, got to work with their elected officials, got to work with the clerks in those communities. And I have a career in local government. I don't plan on leaving local government. That is where my entire legal career has been. And I think it is the most important level of government in that certainly the federal government has more money and has a lot more news coverage, but local government is really integral in the lives of the people in those communities. And so I have always been a local government attorney. I worked for a small firm that represented a number of different communities before coming to Broomfield in 2008. And then I worked in the city and county attorney's office from 2008 until 2016. I did leave Broomfield for 1 year to go live in Australia. Again, that relates to my husband being a teacher. We had an opportunity to do an exchange. So I had sort of a year of retirement in the middle of my career. And then when I was coming back to Colorado, I ended up applying for a new position in finance called a contract and procurement specialist. And so I have been in that role now here with Broomfield for the last 3 years. Getting down to why I'm interested in the city and county clerk position, I've in the attorney's office, I worked very closely with the former city and county clerks on local licensing authority. That's a board that I staffed as a legal counsel for many years, and also worked with them on solicitors and other types of licenses. I worked with the city and county clerks on quorum requests, open meeting requirements. And then with regards to elections, I didn't initially have a huge role in the elections council provided. However, in 2013, when we had a contested challenge to a ballot issue, I did spend a lot more time then working on research and the legal drafting for the complaint, the legal challenge to the election that was decided in 2014 in the favor of the city. So I think it's important to recognize that Broomfield is so unique because it's a city and a county. It's the only non-elected clerk position in the state of Colorado with 64 counties. Denver is the only other city and county that has the same sort of division of functions that we have. But I think my experience here in Broomfield really lends itself to understanding both the city and the county aspects of the work that this office does. And my legal education and experience will be integral in the fact that this is a highly regulated office, a highly regulated position. The 4 divisions of the clerk and recorder's office all have regulations locally charter or ordinance, they have statutory regulations. And then in addition to the statutes themselves, there are going to be promulgated regulations like the election regulations of the Secretary of State, or for motor vehicle, the Department of Revenue regulations. Then the same is true for the local licensing authority. So I think that it's a very unique position in the state, and I have the right combination of experience and education that makes me uniquely qualified for that position. I'm surprised I took all 5 minutes.
Thank you, Erica. We appreciate that introduction and a chance to get to know you better. All right, Jeffrey, it's now your turn. You have 5 minutes to tell us more about yourself and why you should be the next city and county clerk.
5 minutes. Those that know me would be telling you guys to wave off on that and make it shorter, because he can go. Yes, hello, Broomfield. Hello to the citizens. Hello to the city council. Hello to all of the members that are watching tonight. My name is Jeffrey Barry, and I am calling you from sunny California, where it's been nearly 90 degrees for the last 2 days, not a cloud in the sky, and being outside has been really fun. For the last 13 years, I have worked for Yolo County, California. The last 10 of those years, I have been the Chief Deputy Clerk Recorder Elections Officer. And so I have had experience working with the state and local requirements of recording, as well as the elections that happen here in California. I started my career in December 2007 when my wife and I left Lake Tahoe, California to come down here to be closer to family, because we were expecting our first child in February. And that segues into what did I do prior to my service in my public service. I graciously say that I was a professional ski bum. When I got out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I had a stepfather who looked at me and said, if you're going to live in this house, you're going to need a job. So I got a job. I started teaching skiing, and I was really good at it. And from there, that job led me to the Chilean Andes, where I spent our summers skiing down there. And then that led me to Lake Tahoe. And let me tell you something, when you're a young guy from a small town called Woodstock, Vermont, and you come up over those mountains and you see Lake Tahoe before you, you just realize that the only thing you knew about Lake Tahoe was that's where you went when you won the Newlywed Game. I had no idea how amazing that place could be. So I spent the next 15 years chasing the snow in South America and chasing the snow in California. I became a clinician in the ski industry. I traveled north and south along the state, teaching other ski instructors how to do their job better, being comfortable with clients, generating business, and making skiing a lifetime sport. When I ended my career in Lake Tahoe, I was a senior manager in the ski school, overseeing 85 ski instructors for an adult ski school, that if you came to South Lake Tahoe and took a lesson, odds are that instructor worked for me and had skied with me and had been taught by me. Starting my career here in Yolo County, I came in just with an expertise of how to be fiscally responsible, work with a budget, and help build a cohesive, collaborative team. And that's what I've done for the last 10 years. I've worked in over 16 federal, state, and local elections here in California, and I've managed a budget as high as $9.2 million this last fiscal year. I have been complimented by my colleagues and coworkers as being very fiscally responsible with the dollars that have been allocated toward me, particularly in the realm of elections where no revenue is ever guaranteed, at least from the state here in California. And you have to make sure that you dot all your I's and you cross all your T's, and you're making sure that you're billing everything that you can to get those funds to keep that department going. I am currently a proud father of 3. My eldest is 13. My twins, Brooke and Carter, are 9. And they decided early on that they so loved life that they came 6.5 weeks early. Now, that scared us a little bit, but let me tell you something, we wouldn't change it for the world. And I've been lucky enough, as every husband will always say, undeservingly married to my wife for the last nearly 15 years a daily. And I know that I have the skills, the skill set, and the desire to learn and work to fill this position. And I look forward, because I know that there is not a long list of city county clerks from Broomfield. And I look forward to being on that list and continuing the legacy of this position moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for taking the time for us to get to know you a little bit better. And so what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over to the questions that we have for each candidate. And so we will have Erica Delaney Liu start with question number 1, and I can repeat that if needed, so please let me know. Erica, that first question is, what are your goals for the city clerk, recording, DMV, and election divisions? And how will your goals improve motivation, satisfaction, and performance? So again, what are your goals for the city clerk, recording, DMV, and elections? And how will your goals improve motivation, satisfaction, and performance? And you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes is not a lot of time for 4 divisions and their goals. So I guess I'm going to try and approach it holistically. I know from my 3 years here in finance, when you have a department with a lot of different divisions, there can be disconnect. And coming off of the year that we've had, where everyone is sent home and remote, I think that that is going to be a challenge as we move back into the office. So one of the goals that I would have for the clerk's office is to really sort of reintegrate the different divisions. They've had different requirements throughout the year, with DMV needing to be in the building to meet people for appointments, or then with city council being remote, the clerks sometimes are in the building, sometimes are not in the building, attending and running meetings remotely. And then similarly, with elections, some of it's happening remotely, some is required to be here. And so I think it's been a really tough year. And I think with everyone being at home and keeping different schedules, I think the first course of action would be really reintegrating and bringing teamwork back to the forefront. And to the extent there can be cross-training among the different divisions to provide coverage, I think cross-training is integral to making a team work together. You need to be able to understand what the other functions, the other divisions are responsible for and doing. And so I guess it's really a holistic goal. I know that this year will be lesser of an election focused year than perhaps last year was, but I also know that the Board of Equalization, it's an assessment year, so they will have a lot more weight upon them this year. And meanwhile, everything else has to keep turning the way it has been. So I think that's my answer.
Thank you, Erica. All right, Jeffrey, same question. What are your goals for the city clerk, recording, DMV, and election divisions? And how will your goals improve motivation, satisfaction, and performance? And again, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think Erica did hit a lot of it on nail on the head there. You know, we are coming off a really odd year, no matter where you are. And as we start moving forward, you know, it's once the team gets back, making sure that they understand that they have been valued in this entire process from the very beginning when we've had to close those doors, and acknowledging everything that they've gone through, and helping them and seeing if they need any other support as they're coming back, and making sure that the team can come back together and find that, you know, initial like cohesion and togetherness that they had possibly before this all happened. And as we come back together and we look forward, now's the time to have a really good discussion about what kind of innovation can we be bringing to all 4 divisions of this to help us move forward. We've been out of the loop for a while. There's other technologies out there. There's other materials that we can try to find, look for other best practices, and find these processes and performances that we can move forward on, and let the whole team come together as we do this, and give the team a say in where we need to go, what we need to do, and bring it all together that way. I firmly believe in cross-training. The offices that I'm coming from, we continually have recorder people go over into elections and support elections, as I'm sure has happened here, but we need to take it to the next level and see what more than just support our staff can do for one another.
Okay, thank you. And Erica, this question might be a little unique for you, but why specifically do you want to work for the City and County of Broomfield? and maybe tailor it with why specifically this role, the city and county clerk.
Broomfield is a great place to work. I was very fortunate when I left for a year, knowing it was only going to be temporary. That was a pretty big step to leave legal practice and a career that I'd built for many, many years. But the opportunity was just so great. And it was pretty exciting when my current supervisor reached out to me saying this new position had been created and would I be interested in applying. And so I guess I love working for Broomfield. It's a really unique and good community. And it's interesting because in 2019, I completed the Broomfield Employee Leadership Academy. And as part of that, the team that I was working on for our project, we attended National Night Out, which I had never attended before. We attended Broomfield Days, which I had never attended before. And it was really fun to have that community interaction. And so I can't stress enough what a unique community Broomfield is, balancing both sort of a small town feel. There are many employees and residents who grew up here, went to high school here, and still choose to live here. And I really love that aspect. But then you also have the benefits of being so close to Denver and to Boulder and all the other opportunities in Colorado, while Broomfield can still maintain a pretty small town feeling. So Broomfield, I intend to stay. I've started my career here. I'm coming up on 12 years in May, not counting the year I was gone, of course. So it's 12 full years, not all consecutive. And again, I just would reiterate that this position in particular interests me because of the nature of the work. And I think I would be really great at it. And so I want that chance to learn and to grow into that.
Thank you, Erica. And Jeffrey, same question. Why do you specifically want to work for the city and county of Broomfield, and in particular, the city and county clerk position?
Okay. Well, when I set down the road of looking for the next step in my life, the number one thing I needed to do was find a job that I wanted to be passionate about. Wanted to find a job where I could feel valued and continue to help a team move forward. And when I saw the posting for this job, I realized that it was very much in my wheelhouse. It's not 100% what I've done before, and it's not 100% new. And I do have other things within there, and I look forward to the challenges that the city clerk and the motor vehicle department would bring. And that's why I'm very much interested in this job. However, considering it, I also had to take my family into consideration, because if I were to take this job, it would be a change for us. And I am fortunate enough that I have friends that actually live in Broomfield. They have the same age kids as I have. And to be able to talk to them about their experiences, and they know me and they know my family, and that we have these shared experiences. And they have told both me and my wife, we would not be disappointed by coming to Broomfield. The schools are great. The neighborhoods are great. But for me, it was something else. During this whole process, from the very first time I logged in and saw all the people looking at the interview, and then the second time I logged in for the employee panel, I started to realize that there's a real sense of community, not the place, but just the people, that community, that people are concerned about this position, about where it's going, and they want to make sure that everything is going right. And that is something that I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of that community that looks to keep Broomfield thriving and striving and moving forward.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And we will have you answer this question next. And the question is, what have you done specifically to promote teamwork, and how do you intend to increase transparency and communication within the divisions and with other departments? And if you need me to reread that, please, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, go ahead and start it over again. That'd be great.
Sure. What have you done specifically to promote teamwork, and how do you intend to increase transparency and communication within the divisions and with other departments? And again, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I'd like to look and see, particularly where I'm from, what I did with my staff is we all did the Clifton Strength Finders. And that allowed us to find everybody's top 5 strengths in terms of what they do, how they present themselves. And as we brought that together and as we looked at everybody's 5 strengths, the team started to realize that, if they worked with this one person, they needed to approach them this way. Or if they worked with me, they definitely needed to come and approach me in a different way. So we all had a better understanding of how each of us worked in order to have that cohesion of a team. And we knew who would be the person that could do something right away. And then we also knew someone that could take their time, be incredibly methodical, and check in on them, and they'll be getting the project done. So looking to see what Broomfield HR offers in terms of something like that, so that the team feels that they all know how each person works and understands the inner workings and how best to work with one another. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
So it is, how do you intend to increase transparency and communication within the divisions and with other departments?
Oh, well, most definitely. I'm sorry that, yeah, you have to communicate with the staff if there's anything going on. Meeting with the managers, letting them know what the goals are, what the plan is, and letting the managers filter that down to the staff. And I mean, the staff is not that big. So there's the opportunity to have meetings together where we can discuss the really big hit you right now kind of moments. But everything else, weekly check-ins with the managers, what's going on, and letting everybody know what's in the pipe so no one gets surprised by it. And then the same thing with other department heads. If something's coming up that directly affects them, if I'm going to need X amount of material for this thing coming up, I got to let the general services department know. So being on top of it, communicating early, and being proactive in that.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Erica, the same question. What have you done specifically to promote teamwork? And how do you intend to increase transparency and communication within the divisions and with other departments?
So specifically with regards to teamwork, I think one of my strengths is being willing to share knowledge and collaborate and help answer any question, right? I really enjoy research, looking into problems, coming up with the solutions. And that, of course, would apply in this context with all of the regulations that this office really is in charge of interpreting and applying. The team, I think the most important part for me of a team is the trust building. You have to establish a rapport. If you don't know an answer, you need to find the answer and get back to the person with the answer. Don't leave them hanging. Don't leave questions unanswered. And I think that how I work in a team is very much like that. I think if you asked people who worked with me, they would say that I am very responsive and very thorough in my response. For good or bad, sometimes maybe I'm too thorough. But I also, that being said, to build that trust, sometimes you have to tell people something that they didn't want to hear, and you need to do it openly and fairly. And as far as transparency, I think it really goes to equity. Everyone should have the same information. And something that we work in my current role that I work on, vendors wanting to do business with the city that are responding to a solicitation or a request for proposals. If one of them asks a question, you need to make sure they all get the answer to that question, even though everybody didn't ask. But that's how you ensure equity and transparency. And it would be the same with communications among the divisions. You wouldn't tell one division part of an answer when everyone in all the divisions needs to know. And so that kind of open communication and being responsive and thorough is how I would improve transparency and promote teamwork at the same time.
Thank you, Erica. And to keep our process consistent with who answers first and second, Jeffrey, we will have you answer this next question first as well. And the question is, if you are selected for this position, what will be your main priority within the first 6 months of employment and why?
Okay, 6 months. Okay. No, I think number one, coming in and establishing relationships. That is going to be the number one goal. I need to meet with the team and be able to build some mutual respect and trust. And so that becomes a foundation for a strong team moving forward. We can't build anything if I come in and they don't know who I am, they don't know what I'm bringing to the table, and I don't know what they have going on. So that's going to have to happen, as soon as I come in. I want to send my kudos and thanks to Danae for being the interim all this time, and I would plan on during my time onboarding to just check in with her and find out what's been going on ever since she had to take over, and what are those items that are on the radar that I need to be aware of, that I need to take action on, and what's the overall vibe going on in the department. And then that's just inside the department, but then I do have to get myself out there. There are community stakeholders that the department interacts with on a regular basis that I have to get them to know who I am, that I'm the new sheriff in town, so to speak, in this department, and who they can come to for answers and responses of what they're looking for. And more importantly, and the same thing, I'd have to start to go around to the department heads that some of them whom I've seen in my numerous Zooms that I've had here, but getting to know them as well, because overall my interaction with them is going to be something that has to be solid as we move forward.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Erica, same question. If you are selected for this position, what will be your main priority within the first 6 months and why?
So I guess I have a bit of an advantage in that I already have a rapport with a lot of department heads that have worked with me over the years. That being said, I think my goals for the first 6 months would really fall into 3 categories. First, I recognize I need to get in and sort of see the nitty-gritty daily activities of each of these divisions. I have experience advising them on specific questions, but as far as the actual daily activities, I need to get in there and understand that on a more comprehensive level, so that I can understand how the pieces fit together, and what improvements or pain points there might be. Second, I would need to reach out and build rapport with the community stakeholders. The elections section will be new to me. However, we do have a very talented group of staff in the elections division who probably already have those relationships and can help ease that transition as I establish that rapport and build that trust. And then third, so I guess it's really 4 parts, because third, I would take a look at the next, through the end of the year and even into the next year. Elections can be very schedule heavy, calendar heavy, and I think you need to put in the time early on to plan and make sure you know what deadlines and requirements are going to be coming up. And the same is also going to be true for Board of Equalization. And we're also going to be adopting marijuana regulations this year. I think the regulations have been approved, but it will be the clerk's office that acts as the licensing agent for that, according to the new regulations. And then the last thing I want to do in the first 6 months is hear from each division head what they're most proud of for their division and what they do, and then what their biggest potential concern is, so that we can identify those now and start looking at them and coming up with a plan.
Thank you, Erica. All right, so we'll have you answer this question first on this go around. And the question is, what have you done to prepare for this position, and why would you be the best applicant?
So to prepare for the position, I have really looked through the job description, really studied my previous experience in the attorney's office with advising the different divisions and the role I had. It's interesting because being an attorney, you're not really in a management role. However, you're very much in the position of a leader. People come to you when they have a question or they need direction, and you have to, after having built the rapport and being able to have their trust, you have to lead them in the right direction. And sometimes, frankly, they might not come to you for direction, but you still have to interject yourself and lead them in the right direction, or make a course correction as needed before something goes awry. And so I've really tried to look back at my experience and how that applies to this position. I've also done a lot more reading about the statutes that are applicable. But again, like I said, I really want to get in there and learn the actual practices, see the nitty gritty operations on a day-to-day level of what everybody's doing. And I think, again, I think I could be really great at this position. I think I have just the right combination of work ethic and experience both in Broomfield and my experience and education outside of Broomfield. So aside from that, and Jeffrey's alluded to it, we've had a few steps in this process and I have prepared anew for each, but I think I've answered the question.
Thank you, Erica. All right, Jeffrey, we'll turn it over to you. So what have you done to prepare for this position and why are you the best applicant? And again, 2 minutes.
Well, as my experience relates that, for the last 10 years, I've been a clerk recorder and I've overseen elections. And in that capacity, I've been researching Colorado election code. I've been researching the recording requirements just to kind of see where they align and see where I need to, adjust my thinking. But a lot like Erica, I need to get down and learn the nitty gritty of those other two divisions of the city clerk and the DMV so that I can be the best leader that I possibly can be. And Erica's alluded to how great of a management team there are in these divisions. And I am not afraid to not be the smartest guy in the room. I am okay listening to what's going on, finding out what's going on, getting my hands dirty and being told which way we need to go and overseeing that. And I am looking forward to a challenge in this fact that I don't know those other two divisions. And I think it's something that I can dive right into and help those other two divisions, recognize how valued they are. I mean, let's face it, we have talked and talked about elections in the last year ad nauseum. And I think it's time that, other departments understand and realize just those other branches realize how important they are to the overall working of it. And I feel that I am really good at, working with people and making them feel appreciated and knowing that I can empower them to go to the next level.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And I'll have you answer this next question first. And the question is, in your previous position, what specific skills or competencies did you seek out to better yourself and to help others better themselves? It's kind of a two-part question in 2 minutes.
Sure. Well, like I said, I'm not afraid to admit that I'm not the smartest man in the room. And, I thrive to go out and learn what's going on. When I came into this position, I knew the basics of what the office did, but I didn't know the hows and whys and what you need to do. So I dove myself into any association seminars that were there for me to get a better knowledge of everything that's going on. And I would look forward to doing that again if I move to Colorado, that I need to get myself, I need to train myself and be trained by those people that know what's going on. And I fully believe in the power of training. I mean, when you work in a county, in a city, in a county, sometimes the advancement ladder tends to stop at a certain point. But that doesn't mean that people can't still continue to develop already in their job. So I am a big proponent of training. I am a big proponent of someone looking to train to do what they do now better, or if it's something that is not even related to what they're currently, word for word do, but it will make them an overall better asset to the team. I fully encourage training at any time and would make sure, and I've not looked at the budget in depthly, but to have a training budget that allow people to find the opportunities that they want to go to be better and look for that next job that they want to do if down the line, if they decide to do so.
All right, Erica, same question. In your previous position, what specific skills or competencies did you seek out to better yourself and to help others better themselves?
Yes. So as a licensed attorney, I have been completing continuing legal education throughout my career. When I took this new position in 2018, I also started taking procurement classes and moving forward with potentially becoming a certified public procurement buyer. That's been really interesting, frankly, because it's a different profession, and I've spent so many years doing continuing legal education and always looking at it from the attorney's standpoint, so that it has been actually pretty interesting. I was prepared to take the test for that last fall, but we ended up canceling it because our training budgets were reduced in light of the pandemic and everything else that has happened. And so I don't have any problem diving into new areas and seeking out new trainings. I guess one of the other things that I would remark on, the year that I took the Broomfield Leadership Academy was the first year that employees had to apply as opposed to being nominated. And that's something that I sought out and completed. And that was, a personal growth. There were courses on interpersonal relationships and communication. And then I found it really a great process. You set particular goals. And one of the things that you did in that context was sort of look at your team and how the people react to one another. And I know we've had other opportunities like Emergenetics, taking that class, talking about the personality types. I find those things to be very interesting and useful. And those are just some of the ways, I guess, that I've tried to work on and develop those skills. And again, I would say I think I have a reputation for being a good team player, working well with others. And again, I think it goes to sharing the knowledge you have and being able to admit when you don't have the knowledge, but knowing where to find it is sort of the crucial point.
All right, thank you, Erica. And you will be the first to answer this question. And the question is, what are you most passionate about in your job? And again, 2 minutes.
I like being helpful. If you remember, Target used to have stickers, ask me, I like to help. Anyway, I do like being helpful, and I like solving puzzles. And so some of the things that have been the most fun for me were kind of issues that I had to dive into. So years ago, we actually had a deed for a park that had never been recorded, and I found this deed in the basement and recorded it. Ownership wasn't really an issue because there was also a plat saying it was being dedicated, but this was sort of a long-term puzzle that needed solving, and I really pride myself on my strengths in researching, being able to find the answer. So those kind of projects, I think, are what I like the best. And what I've become passionate about, right? Like, if it's the more convoluted it is, the more fun it is to untangle, I guess.
Hey, Jeffrey, same question. What are you most passionate about in your job? And you have 2 minutes.
Well, I think I really like, delving into the processes and why things are done the way they are. And and looking to see, why has the office been doing this way? Could it be done another way? And then I really love the technology aspect of it all, because is there a way that I can be using technology to make some of these processes go a little bit better? So I really love digging down and delving into that. I've also really, to be a nerd, I like the numbers of it all. I like trying to figure out, what's the revenue going to be? What are we doing? How is this department doing? And are we, what can we do moving forward to make things better? And I'm a little bit of a nerd that way. I like it. I like the numbers. I like looking at it. And then, overall, there is the satisfaction when customers leave, when customers have been serviced, they've been helped, they've walked out the door, everything that they were looking for, what they came in for was addressed and taken care of, and I know that they're not coming back because we missed something. The team did a great job in servicing them, and that right there becomes a little bit of a little notch of pride that the customer was satisfied, and it was just because how great the staff was.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And you will answer this question first. And the question is, describe your leadership style. And how would your employees describe your leadership style? And again, 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'll start off by saying that I can't stand the micromanager who says he's not a micromanager. right? And so what I like to do is make sure that I've gotten the team together, and I know from, if after I've worked with the team, I know who does what well. And then we come up and we talk about what I'm looking for, or what the department head or what the county's looking for, and how are we going to get there. And we have a discussion, because I know that I can't do every single project. So I need to be able to let those people who are the subject matter experts, I empower them to come up with how we're going to get there, irregardless of the way that I know that I want to do it. Because if I tell them how I want to do it, they're not going to feel empowered, and they're not going to have any passion for it. So I have to just to communicate the goal of what we're doing, set up goals, set up milestones, set up check-in times, and let them run with it and let them go. And as we check in, as we meet those milestones, we check in, and if they come back and they tell me I need X, Y, and Z, and then me looking over, seeing the overall package, I have the ability to say, well, I can give you X and Z. Can you make do without Y? And allowing them to take it and move on. And then that allows us that once we do get to the goal, it's an overall success. It's not my success. It's an overall success of the team having gone to where we needed to go. And in the end, if we don't get there, that's on me, because maybe I was too hands off. Maybe I didn't follow through enough to make sure that we stayed where we were going. And I think that's what the staff would say about me, is that I empower them and I let them do what they are good at. And I only come in when I'm asked to, and I help them get through what needs to be the little stumbling block that they're on.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. Erica, same question. Describe your leadership style, and how would your employees describe your leadership style? So 2-part question in 2 minutes.
Okay. I guess the best way to describe my leadership style would be leading by example. And I mean that in 2 contexts. The first, I guess, is I think you have to be really consistent in building trust and establishing rapport. And I think you have to build that trust by both your words and your actions. And so you have to have that open communication of clear instructions or expectations, but also keep the door open so that if there are questions, people can get the clarification they need. Some people will run with a smaller level of detail in the instructions. They're happy to jump up and meet the goal creatively. Other people do like more direction. And so once you work with them and get an idea of which they are, then you can adapt. And then I guess the second part, and I didn't write down the right question, second part. What was the second part again, Amy? I'm sorry.
It's how would your employees describe your leadership style?
Oh, okay. I think my employees or my peers that I've worked with would describe it exactly as I've said. Like, I'm open with knowledge. I'm open to questions. You also can't be defensive, right? You can't be defensive about in a meeting I was at the other day, somebody threw out the idea that we should all just be less defensive all the time. And we all sort of sat there for a minute and thought, that's true. And so I think that I excel in being down to earth and not being defensive. I'm not going to be defensive about suggestions to my writing. I think you just have to clearly communicate why something needs to happen. And you can't expect your staff to do things that you yourself wouldn't do. So I think that's what they'd say, that I'm fair and equitable and willing to jump in and help with tasks that need done, regardless of the level.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And thank you to both of you for going through these questions. I know it seems like it went really quickly, but we're at the time to then turn it over to the closing comments. And so to allow for each of you to have 4 minutes to provide any closing comments before we end this evening, I'd like to turn it over to Jeffrey first. And Jeffrey, again, you have 4 minutes for any closing comments, anything you want to cover before we end the forum this evening.
Okay. All right. Well, I think first off, I just have to say thank you to everyone that's been involved with this process. I know that it started back in February, and and here we are. I want to give a special thanks, to you, Amy, for always graciously responding to my emails during this time. I got to give thanks to Danae for answering some of my inquiries about this whole process. And, most importantly, I want to thank Jennifer Hoffman for affording me this opportunity to have gone through this process and to be here tonight. If I am selected, I promise to honor that trust, the trust that the city manager, the city council, and the public will have placed in me. I will commit to further empowering, acknowledging, and supporting what I already know is a valued and successful team that is dedicated to nurturing relationships with all members of the community. And I look forward to being a part of that team. I look forward to being part of this community that you guys have out there in Broomfield. And once again, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Erica, it's your turn. You have 4 minutes to go over any closing comments, any last details you would like to provide to our audience this evening.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody again. It's looking like 38 people have used their time tonight to listen to this presentation. And so I want to thank everybody for the time and listening. I want to thank HR for the recruitment, although I don't know that I can thank you for the Spark hire because I did not enjoy the videotaping prospect. So anyway, thank you to HR and to the manager's office and Danae again. Yes. You have been acting clerk for quite some time now, and thank you for doing that. I guess in closing, as to in regards to why I want this position, I love it here in Broomfield. The position that I came back to, while I have taken the chance to grow and develop that position, and I really have learned a lot from working in the finance aspect, as opposed to just always being in the attorney's office, you really see a different side. And it's really allowed me to grow and learn more about the city and county and the way it functions and the different and diverse roles that it has because it's a city and county. I want to stay in Broomfield. This is a great opportunity for me to expand my career and to frankly use a lot of the skills that I have that I haven't had the opportunity to use in this role. I'm ready to be a representative of Broomfield. And in fact, I have been a representative of Broomfield. We all are representatives of Broomfield in some capacity, but I have been doing that in the community through many years, working with vendors now. And I want to continue that. I think I represent Broomfield well, and I know that I could be great at this position. While being an attorney is not a requirement, the subject matters that the city and county clerk's office oversees are really regulatory heavy. And I think that my legal experience and background and my experience with Broomfield make me uniquely qualified to move into this position and be successful at it. Jeffrey indicated earlier, there hasn't been a long list of clerks in the city and county of Broomfield, and that's true. I've worked with 3 of them. I worked with Russ Ragsdale, I worked with Jim Candelaria, and I did work with Jennifer Robinson as well. And so I really hope that I can be the next clerk and continue my career and growth here in Broomfield. And I look forward to doing it. So thank you again, all of you, for your time tonight and for your consideration.
Thank you, Erica and Jeffrey. Greatly appreciate it. Want to thank each of you for participating this evening. Also to our candidates, they have been through a very rigorous process and many steps. So greatly appreciate you both participating and for your time and interest in this position. I will just double check with Jennifer Hoffman to see if she has any last details for the evening. Otherwise, we can close it. There's Jennifer, and I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you all. We always say for those of us that have been through this hiring gauntlet, I still put myself in your shoes every time we go through this process of how I would answer the questions. I learned something every time we go through this process. I'm grateful for you both. You both did a really well done job, and one of the benefits is by the time you get to this stage, it really does open you up just personally, right? So it's not just your professional persona, but we get a sense of who you are as people. And that's important for our Broomfield team and for our Broomfield community. And authenticity is, it speaks volumes. So thank you both very much. Amy Collins, you do a remarkable job hosting these. I'm grateful to you as well. And the whole HR team, it's been a heavy lift. We have a difficult decision to make. I plan on reviewing all of the, again, it's been a 5-stage process. So I will, again, pull back out the evaluations from each one of the team meetings, from the department head feedback, and again, from those folks that are on the line now. So we appreciate the feedback, appreciate your time. I am grateful. Either one of you could do the job, and we'll go from there. So thanks very much, Amy. I appreciate the time to close it out.
Thank you, Jennifer Hoffman, appreciate it. And just as a reminder, there is a feedback form, so please send us your feedback on the Broomfield Voice. And again, we cannot thank you enough for your time and participation this evening. And again, thank you to Erica Delaney Liu and Jeffrey Berry, and we'll be in touch as far as next steps. Thank you so much.